Want to hear your conversation with Leslie after the show? Go to lesliemarshallshow.com/members.
Some folks think this movement has fizzled, that you guys are done for.
Right. They've been writing that obituary since day one.
People power! People power!
It started with this 1 year ago.
It's our duty as Americans to fight for our country and to keep it, true to serving its people.
A grassroots movement that made the 99% and the 1% part of our lexicon. Occupy. In a Brooklyn workspace, Justin Weddes is keeping Occupy alive today.
What's changed is that people now recognize that the game is rigged. And as we organize and as we evolve and grow, we're going to continue to resist. That's the impulse behind Occupy Wall Street.
That impulse grew in New York's Zuccotti Park, took over stoops in Brooklyn.
I want the banks to stop foreclosures.
Spread from Oakland to Berlin to Hong Kong, saw thousands of arrests, and got people talking.
All great movements start with just a few people.
Police are trying to clear us all off the street right now.
Show me what police state looks like.
This is what a police state looks like.
Around 1 a.m. on November 15th, cops surrounded Zuccotti Park and evicted the protesters who'd been camping out here for 2 months. They didn't go calmly, and they vowed to keep the movement alive.
And this is it. It's a continued stand.
For a few months, they worked out of an office, ironically right off Wall Street. And when you walk in, you get a name tag like this.
This is some of our working spaces. You can see lots of occupiers working here.
Hoping to reinvigorate the movement, May 1st, a day of action around the globe, but it wasn't sustained. Do you think it's relevant today?
I think the message has got diluted.
I don't see any reason that it would have diminished in importance.
They just seem to be a ragtag bunch of people.
Stronger, weaker?
Different. I think that there are things that are stronger. I think our connections to actual organizing issues are definitely stronger.
Occupy says it has about $40,000 left in the bank and has formed groups focusing on specific issues like student debt and housing. There from the beginning, Mark Bray says, give it time.
If you look at all the social movements in history, whether it be the civil rights movement, the feminist movement, it takes decades before you get going.
Zuccotti Park is no longer occupied, but it is still surrounded by police barricades, a reminder of the past year.
We don't need to sit in the park. We've got your attention. Now what we need to do is actually follow through.
Okay, that clip is courtesy of CNN. We're going, as I said in the intro, today is the first anniversary of Occupy Wall Street. This is the day I believe they started the occupation of Zuccotti Park in New York City on Wall Street. And to help us talk about the impact of Occupy Wall Street, our guest is Mark Taylor-Canfield. Mark's been on with us before. He was on with me a couple times during the back earlier several months ago when Occupy Wall Street was on the front pages. Mark was an active member of Occupy Seattle. He is now a member of the Occupy United States Media Working Group, and he's written for Salon and Huffington Post. Mark, how are you doing this evening?
Hey, Brad, it's good to talk to you again. It's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. Too long. Let me ask you this. Can you give us a status update? What's the Occupy movement up to these days?
Well, to put this in context, there's a few things I should probably let the audience know because it's not been widely reported. And unless you go to an excellent article from Dan Frumkin at the Huffington Post, you probably won't know about this. But the United Nations, two United Nations envoys wrote a letter to Secretary of State Hillary Clinton back in December criticizing the U.S. Occupy, the crackdown on the U.S. Occupy encampments by police around the country. So there is part of the context that we're dealing with. People were actually forcibly evicted from those parks. At this point, there's been no response from the State Department. Supposedly, it's been that letter has been forwarded to the Civil Rights Division of the U.S. Department of Justice. But we also have a statement just within the last day or so from Kofi Annan talking about democracy in the United States and how really the United States needs to restore democracy here, specifically mentioning the Citizens United decision, which now allows corporations unlimited access to candidates and unlimited amounts of money contributions during the campaign. So, and then one more thing before I get to what actually happened today. In Seattle, there is a federal grand jury investigation that's been called by the U.S. Attorney, and it has resulted in some pretty violent raids, actually, on activist homes in Portland and Seattle, including the use of flash grenades. The FBI did the raids in Portland, and in Seattle it was the Seattle Police Department SWAT team. And no arrests during any of these raids, but police did confiscate political material and electronic equipment and clothing. So there's a secret grand jury going on right now in Seattle, and there have been vigils going on for months now at the federal courthouse because of a perception that the National Lawyers Guild basically calls these subpoenas of activists. Basically it's a rationalization for cracking down on the movement again, is what they're saying. So there's the backdrop, Brad, to what's been going on in the country and in my neighborhood. But what happened today was it's the first anniversary of the Occupy movement. So for the last year, and ever since folks were kicked out of their encampments back in the fall and winter of 2011, people have been still meeting and focusing on local issues mainly. Hundreds of working groups around the country, and dozens in each community. We have at least a dozen here, I think, who are working on different issues, including the Citizens United, overturning the Citizens United campaign, labor coalitions, people working on health care and cuts to education, student debt, a number of issues, which actually I was thinking, the issues of the Occupy Wall Street movement should actually be the issues of the U.S. national elections right now. But unfortunately, most of those issues get left behind. So what people have done is they've taken to their own communities. One thing that people have done in Seattle is they've actually created these cash mobs where either they go into a business and just spend a lot of money to help a local business, or they literally collect donations and then drop them from a 5-story building and let anybody take the money. But there's all sorts of things like that going on in the country. So the rumors of the death of the Occupy Wall Street movement have been greatly exaggerated. And I take issue with CNN reporting that it's fizzled, because there are conference calls that go on all week long that are national coordination conference calls. And there are a lot of groups around the country doing amazing things, even in small communities. Gainesville had its own Occupy conference. Des Moines is doing an Occupy the World Food Price Forum. So looking around the country, the occupiers are very busy working on these issues. They haven't taken on party politics, and I think the view amongst them is that that's been a good decision because it's allowed them to work independently from any of the political parties or that sort of chain of money that tends to control behavior. So it's a pretty much self-financed volunteer movement, but it's still active and it's still strong. And so today people marched in New York City. They're still marching right now, and they're having meetings. People are meeting in the parks and having general assemblies, deciding on what to do next. Unfortunately, 104 people, at least, were arrested earlier today on Wall Street when the demonstrators tried to get close to the stock market, but of course were blocked by police barricades. In fact, the whole contingent of Veterans for Peace and the faith community bloc, basically all were arrested. So they're in jail, and people are now forming jail solidarity marches, going to the jails to wait for their friends to get out. But all across the country, people are marching and holding events. In Seattle, there is a march happening right now, actually. It's called the Closing Bell March, which is sort of, referring to the stock market closing bell. And they're actually marching eventually to Westlake Park, where there's a silent vigil happening at 6 o'clock Pacific time here. People are going to tape money to their mouths with signs saying money is not free speech. And it's a reaction to the Citizens United decision and a perception that a lot of the folks on Wall Street are now pretty much controlling our elections and our elected representatives.
Mark, let me ask you this. what impact, if any, do you think the Occupy Wall Street movement has had on American public policy in the last year?
Well, one of the responses I have to that is that if you look at the Tea Party and you look at the Occupy Wall Street movement, in one sense, it pretty much represents a similar reaction to Wall Street and to these public bailouts. The Occupy Wall Street movement began largely because of those public bailouts, which was also the inspiration for the Tea Party. So I think they represent two different wings of the political spectrum in the United States. The right has reacted with the Tea Party. The left has reacted with the Occupy Wall Street movement. However, I have to say that if you travel around the country and go to these different Occupy camps, you're going to find all sorts of diverse political views amongst these groups, depending on which community you're in.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this, because we don't have much time left. Do you think that the Occupy Wall Street movement has had an impact on public policy or the discussion of public policy in the last year?
Absolutely. In Seattle, the city council voted to divest public money from large Wall Street banks and invest that money into small local banks and credit unions. There has been at least $100 million, I know, probably more, that's been transferred from these major Wall Street banks because of this movement. And really, if you listen to what President Barack Obama is saying when he's talking about the tax breaks for the rich and the free ride that folks have been getting on Wall Street, he's pretty much talking Occupy language, if you ask me. So I'd say it's had a very large impact on the country. And President Obama is actually coming across at times as, the alternative to the Wall Street candidate, which would be Mr. Romney. So if you listen to the rhetoric, at least, it actually sounds like a lot of what people have been saying in the Occupy Wall Street movement all along, which is that actually we are the 99%. It's really not a left or right issue, and that enough of us feel like we've been screwed by the people in the elite financial institutions, including most of the middle class, that people are willing to speak out now, and they're willing to go on programs like this and discuss it and blog about it.
Yeah, I agree with that, Mark. I think one thing the movement did accomplish is it's got people, Democrats especially for the first time, to talk about income equality, the problems with Wall Street. Mark, thank you very much for joining us. Our guest was Mark Taylor-Canfield, who was here to discuss the first anniversary of Occupy Wall Street. We will be back with more of the Leslie Marshall Show after these messages.
Leslie Marshall. Real people, real life, real talk. 888-6-LESLIE.